Hello and welcome to Penny for Your Thoughts, brought to you by Advocis Toronto. My name is Jeffrey Yang. I'm the communications chair. And joining me today, she's our chapter president, and she's the president of all our hearts, Cindy Marquez.
Wonderful.
And also joining us, we have our director at large and a man that somehow manages to look like both James Bond and a Bond villain, Adrian Altamirano.
All in one. Thank you, sir.
Standard disclaimer, just to get it out of the way, all opinions expressed here are our opinions only and are not reflective of our respective organizations. And big thank you to our sponsors that you should see on the screen there. Thank you for all your support. Now, let's get into it, because if you're wondering why we're a little dressed up today, well, this is our end of year / New Year's episode. And we thought it'd be fun to kind of toast a really successful year and just kind of reflect and, think about what some massive wins that we've had, some struggles, some challenges, what our industry's been going through. And we're going to toast it with champagne. So Let's get this bad boy open. We're not going to pop it because there's a lot of expensive equipment around. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look at that.
Very nice, very nice. Well done.
And in it, you may be wondering why there's 4 glasses here. I also wanted to give a big shout out to our studio manager and the editor for all our videos, Chris Dupuy at 1990 Studios. So thank you, Chris, for all you do. Appreciate all your help and support as well. And let's toast to a very successful 2024.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Ching ching. Cheers, Chris.
Now, I did want to talk briefly about the podcast, because I do obviously have some ideas I want to entertain and initiatives for next year. We're going to be rolling out on more platforms. So currently we're only on YouTube. We'll be coming to you on Spotify and some other platforms as well in the new year. So keep an eye out for that. And we're going to have just a lot more members on. So it's been obviously very industry focused with our sponsors and our partners. And that's, great to have them. But we'd love to start having our members on as well.
Yeah.
So anyone interested, reach out to me, and I'll put my email down there if you want to reach out. And we'll go from there.
Fantastic.
And we did just wrap up our AGM. So Cindy presided over that as well. You did a fantastic job just kind of wrapping everything up for the year. And I'm sad to announce that Cindy she's at the end of her 2-year term. So she will not be coming back as president for next year. But Cindy, I think you've done a hell of a job. And we thank you and support you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Cheers to you, Cindy.
Cheers to you, Cindy.
I appreciate that very much, gentlemen. It's been a while, 2 years. A lot of adversity during my presidency. I'd like to think I handled it with grace. Yeah. Probably could have delegated more, but I guess I'm too DIY sometimes. So I kept myself busy, but it was great. And I'll still be around. I'll still be on the board. I'll still be very involved. So
talking about the podcast, Jeff, I was thinking is what we initially had chatted about is, can we bring more controversial topics, right? I love, like you said, awesome year to kick off the podcast. We've had some great industry partners, some actually really cool conversations. But, there are a couple people and a couple topics that are challenging to the industry that will have strong, and maybe that leads into our politics discussion in a way, but have strong kind of views, right? Vested commissions, levelized commissions. Are we talking about regulation and where it's heading to? Are there carriers that are more invested in the future of technology and making it easier to do business with versus others? Like, these are all things that are, we are the voice of the advisor. So I'd love to, I know we're going to brainstorm. I'd love to see some of that as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate you bring that up, because I've always pushed for us not to be a dry podcast. We want to inject personality. We want to inject, challenges, a little bit of debate. And that's something we'll absolutely be building on in the new year. To what extent we'll have that discussion. We're not just going to bring on,
of course,
extremists and talking about politics.
Let's stir the pot.
Yeah,
let's stir the pot.
Yeah, but you know what? This is why I really push for us to be in person at a recording studio, because we have that in-person chemistry, and that's when the real conversation come out. Like whether it's challenging, whether it's debates. That's the magic of it, right? So we'll absolutely be building on that. We're never going to resort to just being like we could, some episodes have like virtual, but
Sure.
I really like the in-person stuff.
Yeah, I'm sick of agreeing with you guys all the time. Let's fight. Let's bring some drama and
Exactly.
debate to the table
Exactly.
here.
Oh, God. Well, before we start going at each other's throats, let's reflect a little bit on the year because it's been a really good year, at least for me, speaking for myself, both personally and business side of things. So I thought we just kind of start things off just talking about, what are our own kind of the big wins for us, both personally and, work-wise. And I'll start, and I think the big thing for me this year personally was I got engaged.
Yeah.
So that's a big step there. Another reason why we're drinking champagne.
Cheers, my friend.
I popped a question in New York. So that was in Central Park. That was
And I saw you before you got there on that.
we
on that
bumped
flight.
each other. Yeah,
That's
at that airport lounge. I had the ring in my bag.
He came there to talk you out of it. He's like, no, please give me a chance.
I even bought a ticket somewhere random just to talk to him.
Oh, God. Yeah, if you're ever planning on proposing internationally, be prepared. It's really stressful getting that ring through security and with the secondary inspections. I managed to do it, but
I gotta put in a quick plug, and if we not to keep it too personal because I know all our viewers are waiting for some industry topics. But so when we ran into Jeff by a complete coincidence,
it was bizarre.
It was completely bizarre, and I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and she actually said like first time meeting Jeff and his fiance now, and she's like, wow, they're like perfect for each other. Like they have like the same type of personality. We had a brief conversation. So hey man, cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you. I
Wishing you a
appreciate
lot of success.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll let you know when we have a date for the wedding. That's what everyone's kind of asking us right now.
Absolutely.
And the whole membership base is invited.
Exactly. big party.
1,200 members.
All on Advocis' budget. Let's go.
Let's get a sponsor.
So fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
So that's a big win for me on the personal side of things. And on work side of things, I mean, there's kind of two ways. Like my current role, I'm a sales director at an MGA, a large MGA. And I guess the big win for me there is that we actually had a contest recently. We have different regions across the country, and our region, Ontario, Atlantic Canada, was the top performing region across the country.
Well done, my
So
friend.
we kicked ass. We actually had a big party a couple days ago. I'm still a little hungover, but that was a lot of fun. So that was a big win for me on the career side of things. And of course, launching this podcast.
Yeah.
Like I've been wanting to do this for quite some time now.
Absolutely.
It took a lot of planning and wrangling, but I'm glad that we were able to launch this. This is our 5th episode. I'm hoping for many more of this, many more episodes, many more years. So
Fantastic.
that's my stuff.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
Who goes next? Should we fight about it?
Yeah, well,
fine.
that's what this
I
podcast
was
is
gonna-
for.
Okay, I want to fight.
Where are the gloves?
Not to outdo you, but I too got engaged this year.
Oh.
One up. One up.
One up.
So my partner proposed on New Year's Day, start of 2024. And I mean, I know this is our New Year's episode, but technically it's not December 31st yet, but I am getting married on New Year's Eve. So
There you go. Whoa,
started
let's
the
go.
year
That is fun.
with the engagement, ending the year with the wedding. And I'm really excited about that. Yeah, second time's a charm.
Congratulations.
This one's the winner.
This is it. Yeah, that's it.
And we talked about this, but like that's a really interesting date for the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Like
New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve.
It's
yeah.
going to be great. It's interesting, but I mean, it's actually people are loving it because first of all, they want something to do.
Sure.
I feel like at this age, we don't. Okay, maybe I'm like sweeping broadly here. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I don't really want to go to a club or buy a
No.
ticket to one of those big events
Yeah.
anymore. So it's nice to have an event like this, have all your people that you love and care about in one room, celebrating
cool.
you and just celebrating the occasion, New Year's Eve. So fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. That's my personal win. And I would say career-wise, it's been really good for me from a media perspective. I do give a lot of media interviews, typically monthly, but it got to the point where journalists are starting to skip the middleman and approach me directly, which is really cool. So I'd say that's a win for me. I've built up a really nice rapport with a lot of sources from various journals and outlets. So
your
that's my
brand.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, Sydney's been on
Good to see
quite
the
a
brand
lot
growing.
of like social media stuff, even podcasts in this studio. That's not for this podcast.
Yeah, that's true, coincidentally. But yeah, and I was asked to be on CP24 again this year, which is super, super cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my professional win. Really happy about that.
Love that.
I'm
Congratulations.
famous. Google me.
Yeah. Find out. I too got engaged. No, I'm just joking. All jokes aside,
Go on one knee right now.
about someone like Chris. Like, are you available? No, you know what? Personally, it's been a very interesting year. Probably the most challenging, but at the same time, I think that has given me some opportunity to take a look back at it and say, hey, you know, this is probably your biggest growth year. So been fantastic in that sense. Professionally, as some of you know, I work with wealth management firms for a large MGA, but work with the insurance or turnkey operation for wealth management firms. And that has been incredibly successful. And it was a bet. It was a risk to take that has paid off a lot of dividends thus far. So very fortunate to work with those firms. Everything's going really, really well. Couldn't ask for more, to be honest.
Any specific that you learned or the experiences working with those firms?
Yeah, 100%. I think it might be timing, but I think we talked about it actually in a previous episode where we're talking about like there's no longer a simple live and die by return type mentality. Actually, these advisors aren't even called investment advisors anymore, right? They're all wealth planners or wealth advisors, or they all have become CFPs or have hired a whole CFP team. The timing is perfect to be able to say, well, you know what? If you're holistic, then you need to have the right support to continue to provide risk, insurance, and estate planning support. So we've seen that. We've got, hired a team dedicated to that, and it's gone really well.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Great reception.
Yeah. It's kind of similar in my role because from our respective roles, you work with so many different advisors and so many different firms. You learn so much, right? So,
you do.
It's been, we always joke starting our industry, it's like drinking from a fire hose the first 3 months. And it's true because it's a lot that comes at you and a lot of companies you're working with. But it's been good. It's been really good. Okay, fantastic. So we're all having really good years. But let's talk about some of the things that are going on in the industry.
Yeah.
Certain trends, certain developments. And I can think of no more heated and controversial topic than what's happening south of the border with the U.S. election.
Hey.
I really, really wanted to, this is not a political podcast. But
disclaimer.
We're not talking politics, but I think it's important that we address it because it is having a huge impact on the markets, on our clients, on our advisors. And I just kind of want to chat about that a little bit. I think going into the election, we had our advanced investment strategist on a call with the team, and he was saying about how, if Trump were to have won, that would have been, he tends to be more pro-business, and that we would have a jump in the stock markets, which is exactly what happened. And so wanted to kind of get your perspectives on what you thought of the election. I watched it pretty much all night. I passed out on the couch, and then I woke up at 5 a.m. when they were just about to call it. So it was an interesting one. So curious to get your thoughts on the election itself and how it's going to have an impact on our clients, if at all, because the U.S. is a big, big entity.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Want me to kick it off?
Go for it.
So you're right. We're not going to particularly make it a political podcast and choose sides, but you're right. There's an impact to Canadians in general. That's everyone. And of course, our clients and our advisors fall into that, who we care about the most. So one thing I found interesting in the election, what we continue to see, unfortunately, is extreme polarization, right? You have people fully right, fully left. And that's a bit unfortunate because sometimes you need both to kind of meet somewhere in the middle to get things done. I was talking to an economist yesterday about it, and he mentioned that one of the main reasons the Republican Party were able to win it was a manslaughter, massive, right? It was massive, was because they came in the center with certain topics instead of staying hard right. So what I've seen, again, going back to our clients and the impact in Canada, is that you have pro business, you have potential tax reform, deregulation, all the same things. You might have some geopolitical situations that would be really interesting to see how they shake out because they would have been very different circumstances. But our clients, so if I think about my world with the wealth management industry, you now have money coming off or on the sidelines, right? So when money comes off the sidelines, we sometimes see a bit of a pullback on insurance strategies, which is kind of interesting. So we're looking at some data when there's a bit of hesitation with the market. Some clients will actually flee to some safer assets, and insurance is perceived as one of them. So we'll see how it all rolls out. There's a lot of optimism. We're talking about literally billions have been, like some of the firms I deal with, I literally saw them go from like 36 billion to 46, like in a very short period of time. And that's serious money. And that's just market increase, right? So I don't know. That's my initial, initial impressions on the elections, but
I could go on for hours talking about politics because that's a big interest of mine. I won't for the purposes of this podcast, but what you said, I want to kind of emphasize there. You said, like moving towards the center, right? I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a massive amount of people on both sides of the spectrum, and they're not wrong in belong to the other party, right? They just have very different ideas of how the country should be run and the government should be run and priorities and things like that. There needs to be discourse between the sides. And I think this is why we're becoming so polarized, is because if you support a party and I support a party, we're not talking to each other. And if we are, it's in a very kind of antagonistic way, right? Like, so instead of engaging people with, differing ideas, I choose to retreat into an echo chamber of people who think exactly like me on social media, immediate friends and family. I'll stop talking to friends that don't share my same political beliefs. And what happens is that two sides are in their own echo chambers and they think they're right. And then they're surprised when there's a significant amount of people voting for the other party, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is beyond the scope of this podcast, but talk to people who don't share your opinions. Like this whole idea of retreating into your sides, don't do that. Come out from the fringes, meet in the middle, and start talking to both sides.
That's literally, you just defined world peace, and that's not going to happen. Like, let's be real. I love
Did
the
you crack
idea.
the code?
It was that simple.
And sorry, I'll pass it to you right now, Cindy, for your thoughts. But one thing you mentioned was, I think it's by design, right, Jeffrey? And this will be interesting to see for Canada, because both parties, the political strategy was, things were worse under the Trump administration 4 years ago. And then the Trump administration was like, things are worse right now for you. So it's like, it's not things are going to get better per se. It's like things are, like that side is worse. So it makes your supporters think, well, yeah, I'm not even going to listen. Anyways, it'll be interesting to see Canada and how we follow suit. So we've cut rates a lot quicker than the US. Our dollar's already depreciated because of it, but we've had to do it because the alternative is a housing market that's at the brink, right? So, I literally just sold my house. It took 4 days and we had 11 offers.
Wow.
But I got lucky because the rates started dropping right around the time where that's why we went so aggressively into the market. So,
got out at
again,
the perfect time.
Who knows how Canadians are going to work out of it, but, you hope you have a good advisor that can guide you.
Yeah, exactly. And before we throw it to you, I just want to say, again,
This is the Jeffrey and Adrian show. Sorry.
Sorry, Cindy.
I'll see myself. You're not the president anymore, Cindy.
We obviously love this topic, right? Like, we could go on for hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's the world's oldest cliche in our industry, but it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market, right?
Always has been. Right.
Just don't worry about drastically changing your investment philosophies for your portfolios. Just ride out any waves, and hopefully we are working with a good advisor that can keep you grounded. So, sorry.
That's okay. I'm not very political in general. Like,
Madam
I don't.
President.
Yeah, I'm president, not political. Sure. No, I don't typically follow politics that much, but this was a very interesting election because of the characters involved. And what frustrated me sometimes is hearing from those who were rooting for one side, Trump in particular, specifically because the stock markets will boom, and that's it. Like, I'm going to cast my vote in this direction because I just want to see my portfolio go up. I'm like, I don't actually know what he stands for or what will happen. I'm like, okay, I guess everyone has their reasons. That's fine. But it is interesting because although I don't align with that side, I can appreciate how you can see and hear about some policies and believe in that, but then be caught in between the character leading the charge. And are you voting for the policies or are you voting for the person and the personality? Because, I mean, he's a bit unhinged.
No.
To say the least.
Even if you believe, you align on the red side.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Like,
He's a felon.
yeah. Well, it's a good question. We have to bleep that one out here.
They voted a felon into office before they would vote a woman into office.
Oh, no.
Okay, great.
Oh, trust me, I know.
I think it is a tough thing to pick.
Yeah.
Like, and I love it because this is getting into the nitty gritty of things that we see. Us three can agree to disagree on certain things, which is awesome. Like I grew up in the southern states, so typically more of a conservative Republican kind of population, and my brother still lives there. And he's been always a diehard Republican, but he votes Democrat because he votes against the person, and he knows that. He votes against who Trump is, and that's fine.
Mhm.
We have other people that say, I'm going to vote on the party regardless. So
Yeah.
who knows, who's right or wrong, but you just kind of, what do you feel most aligned with? That's what we hope people do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most are ill-informed.
Yeah.
I think people voted for Justin Trudeau at one point just because of his hair. He has great hair. But
There was
does
a whole
have good-
I've heard
campaign
this,
about
right?
this.
Yes,
He does
okay.
have
So I'm not crazy. So I'm like, I'm not saying right or wrong, Justin's right or wrong. I'm not going to definitely come out and put that on the podcast. I'm just saying, like, if you're voting because of that, like, come on, guys.
I feel like there's literally a conservative propaganda commercial, like an anti-liberal commercial, where it was about his hair. Like, sure, he
Oh
has
my
great hair,
goodness.
but because I remember that being a very specific focus
it
of
was a
like
thing.
one of their commercials.
Well, regarding your
Alright.
politics, we can agree Justin Trudeau does have pretty good hair. So.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
Pretty
I'll
good.
agree
Holding that
there.
hairline is holding strong.
Let's move on from the U.S. election and talk more local. So obviously, one of the other big things that happened this year was the DSC phase out for segregated funds.
You're right.
So for those of you who don't know what DSCs are, what are you doing here? First of all, the second thing is, I'm just joking. It's basically the first sales charge. You sell an investment product to a client, and
Right.
if they move the money out within the first couple of years, usually 5 to 7, the client gets charged a sales charge. That's why they call it the first sales charge.
Mhm.
And of course, the regulators came in there and were saying this is not in the interest of the fair treatment of customers.
Right.
So they were looking at phasing that out years ago, and they finally got into that this year. It's good for. I think it's a pro-consumer move. I don't think that's that we both agree. We all agree here, right? But that's also a pretty significant revenue hit for advisors, right?
Mhm.
Because that's a massive amount of money coming in.
Mhm.
I know carriers have started moving into chargeback funds now to offset that, so that the risk is on the advisor, not the client, which I like. But big change right now. So is this going to have a downward pressure on our industry, on advisors' revenue models? Do you think chargeback funds are here to stay? What are your thoughts there?
I don't know. I think it incentivizes advisors to work just as hard every single year, not just that first, sales pitch to get you to sign over the money and invest it with you. You want to ensure that every single year they're assessing the relationship and picking you. And
Right.
that those, annual trailers will continue as opposed to just banking on, well, I get this upfront fee, and the client is kind of disincentivized to pull it out because they're going to eat, a chargeback, so to speak. And I don't want to make assumptions here, but I just don't think that it incentivizes the advisor the right way. At that point, you kind of might just coast and maybe not try as hard or pay as much attention to your clients or think that they deserve your time because, well, I got paid, I'm all good. You probably won't pull it out because you'll have to pay for it. But as an advisor, if every single year you have to work to ensure that, that client wants to keep their money with you and you're going to get that annual trailer fee, then, yeah, it is very pro-consumer. It aligns the incentive to work for the client, I think. But I don't manage money anymore. So, I'm speaking as a sort of outsider here.
Mm.
No.
Well, I mean, you think about why DSCs and now chargeback series, like why they existed is because we are in an industry where advisors, if you're just get licensed, you're not getting a salary job to give advice to Canadians unless you work at the bank or something, right? And then you're capped. There's a different problem there. So it's like, okay, you kind of needed it for advisors to start their practice and be able to build a practice, but it was abusive. And like anything else, there was enough of it for it to be something that needed to be addressed. I'm 100% for the DSC phase out. Like I'm a favor of it. The chargeback series, for you and I being in the distribution side, it's a lot of risk on the books.
Uh-huh.
So you put the risk onto the advisor, which ultimately can roll up to the MGA. That's the only thing that I kind of like, I don't like that. I don't love that.
It's like insurance.
Yeah, I don't love it. But I will say, to your point, I love fee-based. Like, if you can't afford to be a fee-based advisor, align your interests with your clients. Both of you, win or gain in their clients' portfolios will reflect on your revenue as an advisor in your practice. So I like that more.
I think we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And speaking of another thing that we're probably going to be on the same page about, capital gains tax. That was another big change this year with the federal budget. There's been rumors that the Liberals government were going to be doing this for the longest time,
Right.
and they just pulled the trigger this year. So for those of you who are not in know, what are you doing here, first of all? Second thing
Oh, wow. It's so feisty
Kicking
today.
people off.
So the federal government recently introduced changes to the capital gains inclusion rate, where now instead of 50% inclusion, you're now looking at 2/3 if you're a corporation or if you have capital gains over $500,000 instead of 50%. And that's a pretty significant jump in capital gains tax that you would have to pay when you sell off. Wasn't really well met in the press. There were a lot of backlash, I would say, against it. But then at the same time, like if you look at the history of capital gains inclusion rates, we've been even higher before in the past, right? So
75% in the 90s. It wasn't that long ago.
yeah, and that was brought in by the conservative government at the time,
Mhm.
right? So it's kind of an issue that crosses partisan lines. But what are you hearing from advisors or your clients about capital gains? Has that impacted the way you had these conversations with clients?
I mean, think about the demographic it's hurting. I feel like for a lot of average Canadians, it doesn't affect them because they don't have multiple properties or large, sets of assets where they're worried about that affecting them. So, I mean, it's a rich man's tax. It's a fortunate position to be in where it affects you. That means, you're doing well. You have a lot of assets. I want to be agnostic on this one. I just don't think it's the worst, but maybe I can't resonate well enough with the, ultra high net worth.
I gotta challenge that.
I would
Let's fight.
It's not just the ultra high net worth though, because you're talking about any incorporated business owner is going to be impacted by this new capital gains tax. Doctors, as an example, they always keep a huge amount of surplus within the medical corporations. Then they use that as their de facto pension for retirement income. So is this going to have an impact in, attracting doctors when we have such a shortage of healthcare professionals in this country?
Do you think they won't choose to work in Canada because of this?
No, this won't be the one mitigating factor, but it is a
the tax
factor.
regime in general, yes.
Really?
Not this one change, but because of the taxes, 100%.
Yeah, there's a reason why we see so much
They've already gone.
businesses go over to the States because of the less taxes that they pay down there, right? So to me, and again, like even just your incorporated mom and pop shops, they have money sitting within a corporation. If they sell, this is going to impact them as well, right? So
I think part of the campaigning around the capital gains tax was that it would only affect the ultra high net worth. And there's been a number of publications and speakers that kind of said, I don't know if that's 100% true because first of all, on the personal side, there's no cap. Everybody gets charged at 2/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 66%. And then secondly, you don't have to go that far to think ultra high net worth is a very different definition. They're definitely going to get impacted, but sure, they have a lot of money. I'm talking about people that just, have scraped enough to have a family cottage.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that too.
I know
there's
family cottage,
the
or let's think about what happened during the past couple of years of low low interest rates, where people just bought condos. Like I had not teenagers, but early 20s. I had buddies that were like, oh, I'm just gonna double leverage here. I'm gonna buy a condo. I'm not saying that was the right decision, but a lot of people thought that way. Real estate will never crash. Real estate will never slow down, and so they're sitting on multiple properties. All those people are affected. I don't know. I think here's my last tidbit is we're a little bit tired of how much, I think most Canadians would feel they're a little bit tired of how much tax they pay already. we crossed that 50% psychological threshold, and now we're adding in another situation where if you have capital assets, which were tax preferred, they're just a lot less appealing from a tax perspective today.
I won't fight that. Thank you for humbling me.
No. This is just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts.
No, I won't fight you on that one. I do get it. I agree. I mean, you're still seeing a healthy profit if you're realizing that next sort of tier of capital gains tax. I can understand just, mom and dad, they have the cottage, they sell it, they expected a bigger profit than they'll get now with this change. But it's still a healthy profit. Playing devil's advocate here. I mean, it's like you're still walking away with a solid profit if you're meeting the point of having to pay that level of capital gains tax. But yes, overall,
on a personal, taxes, you have to pay from the $1. Like that hasn't changed. But the corporates
only above $500,000 of gain.
On a person, on a personal. Yeah. Sorry, the corporate pays from $1. Yes.
Yeah. So
that's a good point. It's a good point.
I mean, you're right. Like I see the spirit and the intent. The word of law here, but to Adrian's point, like it's just another layer of taxes, and when is it going to stop? Yeah. So that's that. I don't know if there's too much. I mean, I'll wrap up by saying though, on this topic, this is actually a huge boon for us in our industry because this is a huge shot in the arm for insurance strategies that are designed specifically to mitigate like capital gains taxes and things like that, right? So.
I think we get more opportunity, more tax, bigger insurance policies generally.
Generally, yeah. That's the way it works, right? Like we're in the business to help, with
mitigate that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I've been hearing, like a lot of our advisors that I work with, they've been opening up some pretty they've been opening cases that they thought were dead for years now, and then they're getting a call from the clients saying, "Hey, my accountant told me I need to talk to you about this."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
on the flip side, I mean, there are countries with much higher tax regimes in general. Because there's a lot of very well-funded public programs that support the citizen and, the measures of happiness of their citizens are quite high. Yes, please, Jeff. Thank you. So I guess the question is to sort of argue like, okay, yes, taxes are higher, but I'm happy because that tax revenue is helping me in XYZ reasons. Do we believe that that's true in Canada? Do we believe that the quality of life is there?
Hot topic.
Because like in other countries, it is worse, but then the quality of life is fantastic and a lot is provided for them. And citizens are happy, they don't complain. But the argument is like, do we think that's the case here in Canada?
No, I will never be the person that says we should have no taxes or minimal taxes. Right. Like obviously taxes do play a role and we do have public institutions that need to be funded. We just have to make sure we're spending the tax dollars in an appropriate manner, and we're not being too punitive on taxpayers. So
true.
That'll be where that'll be my little disclaimer.
Taxes go up, but then nothing else changes for the citizen.
Yeah.
Well, then what are we doing?
What are we doing? Yeah.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
Great point.
And last thing in terms of like the biggest trends in our industry for this year, tech and AI has been huge. When was ChatGPT released? Was that this year?
What do you mean?
Last year.
Was it ChatGPT?
Oh, longer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it longer?
We're on the 5th iteration of it right now?
I guess so, yeah.
I guess this is when it really took off.
But I think there's been a huge explosion of adoption of like ChatGPT and similar AI programs, and to the point where I'm seeing, like 60 and 70-year-old advisors having on their phones and helping them craft emails to clients and everything, right?
That's right.
We've had Jonathan Shaw from RBC on the podcast talking about this topic. We actually had a in-person summer social a couple months back where we had an advisor who fully embraced tech and AI within the business, talking about how they uses that to explosively grow his business, right? So really interesting, a lot of developments there, and we had a carrier presentation a couple of days ago with a major insurance company where they were saying they were now going to start using AI to help with underwriting and speeding that up for smaller cases, right?
So, I like that. Is that during the actual underwriting process or more like a chat bot available to advisors to pre-screen?
No, just to start with, just the underwriting process, right? So they'll have an AI take a look at a file, to come to the decision immediately, and then have an underwriter kind of sign off. And I assume is how that process will work. That would be huge because underwriting delays suck.
Yeah, they do. I wish they could figure out a way to get the doctors to get the APSs back quickly.
Might have AI doctors soon. You never
Yeah.
know.
Gosh.
But what are you guys hearing in terms of tech and AI this year? What has been some things that jumped out to you? Are you using ChatGPT? I know we all use it.
Yeah. I'm using it for sure. But I mean, I don't copy and paste. It's a great way to build a skeleton for whatever
Right.
it is you're working on. But you can tell from the language whether it's stemming from, or at least I use it so often now that I can tell upon reading something like ChatGPT's words for sure.
Yeah. I think our industry is notoriously slow to start with. The insurance industry, like it's incredible. But even seeing the fact that I'm really excited about what the carriers can do with it, but even seeing the fact that the distribution, like our firm has finally adopted it. We're using it in a certain way with obviously with some guidelines because we want to make sure that things are verified. There's a number of risks, I guess, but incredibly productive. My one quick story was, I don't know if I told it when we were with Jonathan, but I used Copilot, which is off the Microsoft Suite, and we have a lot of stuff on Microsoft Suite. And we were able to, I had a scenario with a U.S. client an advisor was working through, right? So there's always little quirks with U.S. clients with insurance and different types of accounts. And I was like, okay, I can just, write out to our PIPS team. So we got some detail there, but I'm like, I know I've asked before. So then I quickly asked ChatGPT and I wanted to see what it would pull up. It was incredible. Okay. It pulled up for this US client memos that I've had from earlier in the year with someone like a lawyer from our planning services team. It pulled up a couple details from RBC's DS planning, pulled it up from Sun Life. It just kind of compiled these details and gave me this concise summary for considerations that clients need to have when they have insurance products that are U.S. persons. And it was just a great starting point, but saved me, I don't know, hours of work if we were actually going to go in and dig that up. So really cool.
It's a huge boon for our industry.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And note-taking is just, it's not a job anymore, right? Like note-taking is just another level now.
Yeah.
Every other Zoom meeting I'm on has like a AI little attendant just keeping notes and transcribing and everything, right? So it's a little crazy. Going forward, 2025, how do you see AI kind of shaping our industry? Do you have any hot predictions of what might happen next year? The direction you kind of see it taking? What are your thoughts there? Because I can tell you, like, what I would be real super excited to see would be like distribution channels adopting that more and taking like streamlining our process a lot more, right? Like field underwriting is a huge one, right? Imagine just being able to go into AI chatbot and say, hey, I have a client with this, this, and this. Boom, here's the likely decision.
Drinks
right?
alcohol from a gold bottle. Well dressed.
I already got all my
dressed.
insurance policies. So.
That would be great.
A couple things that come to mind on that question is one, I saw a firm that is a wealth firm that they've embedded AI into their back office so they can like ask for particular forms and instructions, and I think it's getting to the point they can submit a trade through using AI. It was incredible. So that was fantastic to see. But also looking at AI in the capacity of, I guess, a personal assistant on like another level of support. Like I think it's going to get to the point that we're going to become incredibly efficient. I don't know. It's kind of scary at the same time.
Say efficient, but dependent?
But dependent. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
So AI assistants would be a fantastic one because like we know when we work with advisors, as soon as you take on an assistant, you're going to massively increase your profits and your revenue because it takes so much off your plate, right? But hiring and finding an assistant is a big challenge in our industry, right? So can you imagine just being able to download an assistant for like $50 a month or $100 or whatever it may be, and it just does it for you, right? Yeah, it's crazy. So, Cindy, any thoughts?
That's what I'm looking forward to. Again, thinking really far ahead. What do we worry about? I mean, same discussion that was being had when robo-advisors first came out. Like, oh my God, is this going to replace us as humans? And we said, well, no, because it doesn't have the human touch. Sure, pre-built portfolio and you just add money and boom, you're invested, but it doesn't provide holistic advice. It takes your context into consideration. That's why we need humans. But generative AI is getting really good where it can probably give you some pretty sound, reasonable, holistic advice that maybe our human brains can't quite see the picture as big as AI could. So are we there yet? No, but I mean, if we want to be bleak about it, then that's, I guess, the worry that I would have for our industry, where maybe saying that, explaining it away as like the human touch is what will keep us alive, is no longer effective. I mean, now there's robots that have created art. There's that in the news recently, who painted a picture that sold for what, like $30 million or something like that. Like
$30 million, really?
I don't know, it was in the millions or something. Maybe I like blew that number out of proportion there, but I know it was like the first robot to generate like a painting that sold for a fair amount. And like we always held, you know, the creative industries, it's like, well, that's uniquely human. Like robots are there to do the menial tasks that we don't want to do. Creativity and art is distinctly human.
Us.
That's for us. But now they're making robots do it too. So
yeah. I've heard the AI songs. They're kind of funny, actually. It can be so ridiculous. Yeah.
I've seen those like really messy like AI videos where things are like morphing into each other.
Those are so great. I love
utter
those.
chaos.
So good.
I don't remember the details from this, but I remember reading a story today or yesterday. There was a company that put together an AI grandmother. Hear me out here. AI grandmother who is designed specifically to engage with scammers and take up their time.
Oh, fantastic.
So people that call in and try to target older demographics and get all their money.
I put my money
now they're going to be talking to this AI and they're going to waste their time. Apparently the AI is designed to ramble and go off in different directions. And
gotta fight back.
I love it. AI abuela.
I love that.
So, yeah.
AI abuela. That's so good. Oh,
yeah, I wish I can remember the company. Maybe I'll put it in the link dunk there. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. It's crazy. Like
that's really great. That's a heartwarming like addition to this otherwise kind of dark conversation.
Pretty much.
So true.
Well, do you have any predictions in general for next year? What do you think 2025 is going to bring to you, to your clients, to our advisors? What are your thoughts there? Because 2025 is going to be when Trump is installed as president, and then that's going to have ramifications. We're going to have an election in Canada in probably September-ish. Yeah. What are your...
I don't know, because I am just nervous. Like I think that Trump's an unpredictable guy. You know what I mean?
He 100% is.
You just don't know what you're going to get. So I don't know what's going to happen. And sure, the silver lining is like, yes, I've profited too. My portfolio looks nice. But what's going to happen? And what is this? What kind of precedent does this set now? And okay, we're getting political again. But as a woman, you know, I feel like a lot of things, like there's steps being taken backwards. Like we're going backwards in time, and certain rights and privileges being revoked. And I just like... Not even as a woman, as a human, I'm worried. If I'm just soulless moneymaker, like pro-capitalist, then great, let's make money. But as a human, I don't know, I'm worried. I'm kind of stressed out about what it means, the kind of message it sends to like what it means to be an American and what you stand for. And again, it just goes back to where perhaps in this case, the leader is perhaps very distinct from the party that he represents, where maybe I just have strong opinions against Republicans because I'm focused on Trump and not so much on Republican ideals.
Well, Republicans initially didn't want Trump in because he was an outsider, right? And somehow he's able to worm his in because he had the populist
And a lot of
support.
Republicans are kind of anti-Trump too. So it's just interesting. Yeah, and what he's doing, the people he's electing as heads and leaders to certain departments without qualification. I mean, I don't know. It's just like...
Well, I could probably say that we'll be seeing a lot more Americans coming to our country, right?
We said that last time, I think. Well, not us personally, but I feel like that was in the news where it's like Google searches for how to move to Canada surged after that last election. I don't know if that actually came to fruition. Did we have a lot of Americans come to Canada? I don't
know if there's a lot, but the Economist yesterday also mentioned that if Trump goes as aggressive as he's proclaimed to on immigration, like if he gets even more serious, we're going to see a flee of those individuals into Canada.
But
It
aren't
is
we
the
also
easiest
cracking
border.
down on that? Or
Well,
allegedly?
we are, but it's easier. Like it's
Yeah.
much easier. If they've already paid to get into to the U.S., they can figure out a way into
We should
Canada.
build a wall. No,
A wall of hugs is what we would build.
yes.
All
Red
right.
Rover. We call Mexico over.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my
All right, we're off politics.
What
Here's my take for 2025. I think AI in the planning space is something I'm really interested in seeing. So how can AI help identify opportunities? Because everybody's planning now. Even insurance advisors are doing a lot more planning. How can they Planworth, for example? I'm a big fan of that company. Once you commit, some of the details, it gives you some recommendations. Like this client should be considering this because of this algorithm spits out, the reason. So that'll be interesting to see. I think 2025 will also bring a year of continued volatility. And I think we'll, here to end on a better note for my comments, I guess, is like, I think we'll just have to show that we're resilient.
Yeah.
Like we always have.
We
Some things are out of our control.
people are, if nothing else, resilient. Like we've gone through a lot, even just
Mhm.
going back, the last 100 years, right? Like lots of headwinds, lots of changes in society, lots of different leaders, polarizing, not polarizing,
Sure.
unifying, dividing. Like we've been through all of that and we come out stronger. So I have a more optimistic take. I think, we're going to persevere. Whatever 2025 is going to look like, I think we're going to pull through as people. I think
Agreed.
to my earlier point, stop retreating into your echo chambers and start engaging with people who don't share your same political ideologies, and just keep being good people. Like just be
Yeah.
good people.
100%.
Let's wrap up really quickly. In terms of Advocis, what are you excited for in 2025? And I'll start by saying, again, I'm a huge proponent of in-person events and connecting with members directly, and that's what we're looking forward to building on. I know we've been chatting about some ideas for next year and in the process of planning it out, but I'm looking forward to it, like our socials, for example, and
Yeah.
being able to connect with you guys. So,
Right.
so
I think we set a good precedent there in the last couple of years of what those
Absolutely.
in-person events are like. And if it's just downtown parking that's been preventing our members from joining, don't worry, we're expanding our horizons to other venues if that's the trouble there. But I think people that show up really do appreciate what they get out of those in-person events. But it's just convincing people to show up. I don't know. I think some advisors just think it's a burden to leave their house and attend an event. We're just so used to the convenience of like, this takes away from my work day. No, sorry. I
Give
don't
me
have
a
time
Zoom
for it.
link.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something, So I'm hoping that we don't brush off the importance of the camaraderie and connecting with your peers to, well, this isn't inconvenience that I have to leave my house to show up, because it goes a long way. And I think it really strengthens what we're doing here. We're an association, a not-for-profit association. We're meant to link arms and share ideas and collaborate. That's really what this is all about. So I'm excited to see more people come back out.
Yeah. And I'm
Ideally.
excited for President Al to be installed. And
Yeah,
Absolutely.
me too.
So that'd be good.
Start working.
Start working.
I think I'm going on 10 years next year with Advocis, and I've
That's
seen
crazy.
kind of like the chapter grow. And I look at the board we have right now, and you've installed a really good board. We've got a lot of young individuals, driven, new ideas, but you also have individuals that have been there a long time that are like, okay, well, hey, I want to make sure we don't lose what was most important. Why were we like the why, the Simon Sinek why? Like, why do we exist as an association? Let's never lose sight of that. And I think we've done a good job of that when you consider the content that's provided. So to your point, if you're not coming just because it's downtown parking, well, I'll pull a page off your book. Why are you even here?
There you go.
I'm joking.
I'll be a motto next year. Why are you here?
Why are you even listening
Why
to
are you
us?
even here? Yeah. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am. I think 2025 is going to bring a lot of good things for Advocis, for just our industry in general, and I'm pretty excited. Like
There's no big headwinds I could think of next year, right? I mean, the couple things that you got to consider is we follow suit with the investment industry. So what does know your product look like in our world, on the insurance and investment world? What does that, consumer focused reforms look like more in our world? So it'll be interesting to see what regulation does now that CRO is one entity for both MFDA and IROC advisors. We're seeing a lot of moves with what FISRA can take on or not take on. We're seeing new regulations for MGAs, because an MGA today can literally be licensed the same way an individual corporation is. Wild.
Mhm.
So, we gotta, what are the requirements they're going to request from someone like both Jeffrey and my association, which we have thousands and thousands of advisors. There is some responsibility we take on, which we have, but not all MGAs have, and these are things that need to be addressed. So it'll be an interesting year.
It'll be an interesting year. So
Right. Compliance is huge.
Compliance is
I think
huge.
we've tripled our compliance team this year
Mhm.
as a firm. And whenever we look at, I was just with my team and we talked about all the sessions we put together. Compliance was the most highly attended. So people are worried. They want to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, like I said, 2025 is going to be an interesting year. Before we wrap up here, New Year's resolutions.
Ooh.
Because this is the new year,
Yeah.
in theory, when you're seeing this. So I'll kick it off. So I'm going to be the one cliche person on this panel, and I'm
Gym
going to say I'm going to work out more.
There it
I'm
is.
going to be more active, study more, work towards designations, things like that. There isn't,
Go work out with your wife.
right, just be a better person overall.
Cool.
That would be my just keep being awesome.
I like it.
I love that.
I'm going to hold you to it, by the way.
Okay, that's
yeah.
it.
Let's do a before and after shot.
There you go.
I
Hulk out of my
want to see
suit.
your biceps ripping through that blazer by this time next year.
I love that. Just in a bow tie. Okay, no.
Chippendales. All right, here we go. Prosecco's kicked in.
It is after 5. So.
I think my resolution is I've gone through periods where, I'm nearing burnout. It's just a lot on my plate. A lot of things happen all at once. I think my resolution is to make a point, try weekly to do something or reflect on the things that brought me joy that week in business and in my relationships, or make a point of doing something that really brings me joy and reminds me of the spark. Why is this job so fulfilling to me? Really reflect on that client call I had, I really helped her today. And I really want to take a moment to acknowledge that, I did that. And she's different now and she feels like I really changed something for her. And I want to really take a moment to acknowledge that. And okay, you did good. Or do something that, keep the romance alive. Getting married again. Let's keep the romance.
It
Who wants to be my third husband?
Sound like a political, again, because it makes me think make America again. Get married again.
No, that's where I'm at. I think you're just
Good one.
more reflection, I suppose, and being more conscious about my relationships and why I'm in this industry and doing the things that spark joy. And yeah.
I like it.
Love it. Okay, so I didn't come prepared, but I have been thinking about it, and I love what you're talking about in terms of being a better person. I love that and how you impact people. But that's a lifelong commitment, and I realize I'm going to fail at it in certain times, and I'm going to be great at it, and that's okay. I do have a new coach, and one thing he's asked me to do is to take. He goes, how much time do you dedicate to reflecting on your week, on who you've impacted, what you've done good, what you've done bad, what you want to do, both personal and business. So he challenged me with that last week, and I've got tomorrow blocked off from 8 to 9 a.m. just to do that. Because here's the brutal reality is because of, so when we were in COVID, everyone went through that, Teams and Zoom fatigue, where you would never have 10 meetings in one day.
Yeah.
But now you do. And then guess what? Okay, now the world got used to that, and then add in the external and social. So now all I have is I hate looking at my calendar sometimes because I'm overwhelmed. The amount it just gets booked. If there's a little 30-minute slot where maybe I could have a drink of water, booked. And so I really am. I'm intentionally blocking time. I did actually. I'll give you some advice if you want it. I did take 3 times a week. I'm gonna work out or run or something. That's kind of like my therapy. But I have it blocked in my calendar. It's in there, and I take it pretty seriously. Yes, I've moved it, but I'll take it pretty seriously because you have to.
I've done the same.
Right?
Yeah, you have to.
And it's so now this reflection time again. I'm gonna put it in there. So we'll see. I hope to hold that up.
I like that. Yeah. I love that a lot actually because time blocking is so important. And,
Yeah, it is.
it's easy to get overwhelmed in the day, get distracted and derailed. So just block it on the calendar and stay committed to it.
You have to make room for it.
You got it.
Yeah. There you go. And to our viewers and our listeners at home, appreciate that you're even listening here. I know I was kind of joking about it earlier, why you're here, but I really do appreciate the support. We wouldn't be here without you guys.
That's right.
And so really appreciate that you're even taking the time to listen to us and to watch us here today. And if I can just give some advice to our viewers at home, just stay safe this holiday season, be with friends and family, be mindful and be grateful for what you have. And don't talk to someone who doesn't share your same opinions.
I love
Don't
that.
talk to someone?
No, talk to someone. Talk. No.
Don't not talk to someone. Don't not do it.
Yeah, don't run away from people who disagree with you.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And don't
It's true.
Here.
and don't take it personally that they don't disagree with you, because there's no wrong idea about how a world and government should be run, right? So
Yeah.
just talk to those people and let's meet in the middle. Is
That's right.
my big message here.
Over a little prosecco.
Over a little prosecco. Yeah, the excellent way to
Excellent.
tend to end that off. So thank you for listening. Engage with us on social media. Happy holiday season, everyone, and we will see you here next year.